Hello students, in this discussion we shall look at the various ecosystems, and to begin with we will start with the forest ecosystem. Okay, when I think you see a lot of forest we are in the coastal Western Ghats coastal region, we see a lot of forest. Okay, and we are fortunate that we have this forest which provides such a good weather and climate for this coastal area. So forests are formed by the community of plants which is predominantly structurally defined by its trees, shrubs, climbers and the ground cover. Okay, so forest includes everything like the ground cover, the climbers which climb on the tree, creepers, climbers, whatever you call. Then shrubs are small plants, and then trees. So the forest ecosystem, this also consists of living as well as non-living aspects. Okay. The non-living aspect means that is the abiotic conditions like the soil, the vegetation, the rainfall which falls, and the temperature. So this constitutes the non-living or abiotic aspects of the forest. For the forest to sustain itself, you require rainfall, you require proper soil, you require nutrition. Nutrition they get it from their own leaves which fall down, and they again get converted into nutrients, micronutrients for the like trees, shrubs, etc. And the rainfall and temperature they vary according to their location on the planet Earth, that is at which latitude and altitude they are located. Altitude means the height. Okay. Then comes the living or the biotic aspects of the forest, where you can see small animals as well as large animals. Okay. So small you can see rabbits, frogs, all the small animals, and big animals also like herbivorous as well as carnivorous animals like lion, tiger, wild buffalo, cows, all this kind of wild hen, all these things you will find them in the biotic aspects of the forest. So now we shall look at there are various types of forest ecosystems, but the forests are broadly classified into coniferous and broad-leaved forests. So basically the two types of forest, one is coniferous forest and the second one is the broad-leaved forest. So now we will discuss about this coniferous forest. Basically they are grown in the Himalayan region, Himalayan mountain region, where the temperatures are low and there is a lot of snow. Okay, these forests have tall, stately trees. You might have seen those in the movie and all. They show long, big, very long, straight trees are there, stately, very nice. They look with needle-like leaves. The leaves are like needle, like your Ashoka trees, or this oak trees, what we call. So they are needle-like leaves, and they are sloping downwards. Their branches are sloping downwards, so that when the snow falls, they slip off from the branches and come down. Okay, so that like a triangle, the tree itself is like a triangle with sloping branches. So this is the coniferous forest, and then we will discuss about the broad-leaved forest. So these are in this broad-leaved forest you have got many varieties, like you have got evergreen forest, you have got deciduous forest, thorn forest, mangrove forest. Okay, so we will discuss these four forest in the broad-leaved forest. Okay, here the leaves are broad. I think we will start with evergreen forest. So they are heavy rainfall in the Western Ghats. Now Karwar, Goa, these all come under the Western Ghats. And then you have got northeastern India, like Assam, Meghalaya, that is all northeast India. Some 7-8 states are there. And then the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, there also you will find this evergreen forest. They are always green. Even our Karwar, Goa also you can see along the road, the trees are always green. These forests grow in areas where the monsoon lasts for several months. So to be evergreen, like in Karwar and Goa also, you have rain for almost 4 to 5 months. Okay, so it starts from somewhere in June June, July, August, September, October, almost 5 months you will have that rain. That is why you will find the evergreen forest. There is no dry leafless phase as in the deciduous forest. Here there is no leafless phase. The deciduous forest, while we will say next, there they in the due when the changes of season, the trees will shed all the leaves. They will become dry, and again they will grow. But here evergreen means it is always green only. An evergreen forest thus looks green throughout the year. The trees overlap with each other to form a continuous canopy, and thus very little light penetrates down the forest floor. So the trees are very close to each other, and they form like a canopy, so that the light doesn't fall onto the earth, because the earth is totally covered by the canopy of the trees. So this is about evergreen forest. Then you have got a deciduous forest, are found in regions with a moderate amount of seasonal rainfall that lasts only for few months. So here instead of 5 months, it may last for 1 or 2 months only. Then the deciduous trees shed their leaves during the winter and hot summer months. Okay, the forest frequently has a thick undergrowth, as light can penetrate easily on the forest floor. See what happens in this when the trees shed the leaves, so the sunlight is falling on the earth, and already because the leaves have fallen, there is a lot of nutrition on the earth. So you will have lot of vegetation on the forest floor. On the earth now there is a lot of vegetation, one because of the nutrients available, second due to the light falling on the forest floor. This is about deciduous forest. But when you go to this evergreen forest, you will not find a light on the forest floor, and has very little vegetation on the forest floor, like grass especially. Then you have got the mangrove forest. We will see this mangrove. You have seen mangroves actually. I don't know where, in everywhere in Karwar, Goa, you will find this mangroves. You know what is mangrove? It's a very special type of trees there. They are actually the plants which have adapted themselves for both saline water as well as fresh water. So you might have seen this mangrove near wherever these rivers and the streams are joining the ocean. Alongside that, you will have this where the roots are very tall. We are seen the roots are not only in the earth, but they are visible outside also. And these roots are breathing roots, which emerge from the mud banks. So they breathe, and that is how they have adapted themselves to both salt water as well as sweet water. Okay. So mangrove forests grow along the coast, especially in the river deltas. These plants are able to grow in a mix of saline and fresh water. They grow luxuriantly in muddy areas covered with silt that the rivers have brought. So rivers, when they are flowing, they bring that material that is known as silt. The mangrove trees have breathing roots that emerge from the mud banks. I think you might have all seen, you may not be knowing that, but this is a very famous and very important component of the ecosystem, this mangrove forest. You don't have forest, you have got small stretch of mangroves here, but in Sundarbans and all in West Bengal, you have got the like forest, like only a lot of mangroves are available. So now we should look at conservation of this forest. How to conserve the forest? So what we have seen some 2-3 things we would like to say. One thing is the people cut the trees from the forest and take them to use as a fuel. Okay, that is deforestation is taking place. One thing. Second thing, as you have seen in Australia, even in USA and all, there are a lot of wild forest fires. Luckily, in our region of Karwar, Goa and all, we did not have any forest fires so far. But there are a lot of forest fires also, and they damage lot of trees. So I think these are the two things which are damaging the forest ecosystem. And third is that people who go for hunting of the wild animals and all. So how to counter this? So we should go for conservation of the forest ecosystem. A government has got its own forest department. You might have seen everywhere forest departments are there, both in either Goa state also you have got, as well as in Karnataka also you have got. So the forest can be conserved only when its resources are used carefully. So you should be very careful in using whatever resources you get from the forest. Even you get lot of Ayurvedic medicinal plants and a lot of rare plants are available in the forest which are not available in the mainland. So one is this can be used by using alternate sources of energy instead of fuel wood. So as you are aware, this fuel wood which is cut and taken and then dried and subsequently used as a fuel. Instead of that, we are supplying now LPG, so that LPG can be used as a alternate fuel instead of wood. Secondly, there is a need to grow more trees. So whatever that deforestation has been done, cutting of trees in the forest, then we should do afforestation so that we grow more trees. Okay, that is known as afforestation. The afforestation needs to be done continuously, from which fuel wood and timber can be judiciously used. So this afforestation should be taken in a large scale so that it can also be cut. Some part can be cut, and there is, I think, there is in energy something called energy plantation also, where you grow trees specially to be cut. Okay, you are growing trees, fast growing trees which grow very fast. Within 2-3 years they are very tall, and then you can cut. So you can have that energy plantation also. And lastly, to protect this forest, we have like Anshi National Ghat, Tiger Reserve, then Kotigawa National Park. So you should have this national parks and wildlife sanctuaries where all the plants and animals can be preserved. So luckily, both the governments, the state governments are very active, and they have got they are conserving the nature forest ecosystem by having national parks, and they have got security guards sitting on the road so that they check whatever is entering and what is going out of the place. So this way they are able to curb this illegal hunting and all in the forest and try to preserve the forest ecosystem. Thank you. Hello students, now we shall look at the grassland ecosystem. Okay, so a wide range of landscapes in which the vegetation is mainly formed by grasses and small annual plants form a variety of grassland ecosystems with their specific plants and animals. So grassland means whatever is you find grass, and the small plants means they grow, they die. So every year they grow, not like this forest where once they grow they are there for almost hundreds of years. Here this is annual plants we are discussing. So there are small plants and grasses which form the grassland ecosystem. So grassland covers area where the rainfall is usually low and the soil depth and quality is poor. So the depth of the soil is poor, so you are not able to grow trees there. So only small annual plants and small grasses are going on the, because the only top surface is fertile. The low rainfall prevents the growth of large number of trees and shrubs, but is sufficient to support the growth of grass cover during the monsoon. Because grass does not have long roots, it's hardly few centimeters. So that much amount of because of less rain, that much water will not percolate down. One thing. Second thing, the top soil only is fertile, so it will support the grass and shrubs, small shrubs. So each grassland ecosystem has a wide variety of species of grasses and herbs. So lot of variety of small plants, that is herbs, are available in this grassland ecosystem. And now we shall look at some 4 grasslands like the Himalayan pasture belt, the Terai region, the semi-arid region, and the Shola grasslands. So this Himalayan pasture belt, as you know, Himalayan belt is in the northern part of India. It extends upon the snow line. The grassland at a lower level form patches along with coniferous or broad-leaved forests. So especially as we discussed in the forest ecosystem, there are 2 types of forest. One is coniferous and second is broad-leaved. So in the coniferous, you have that tall trees with that canopy, tapered canopy. And in the broad-leaved, the trees are big, and you have got different 4 types of forest, and mostly the deciduous forest in this broadleaf, they will have a lot of sunlight, and that is why you will have lot of this grass and shrubs on the forest floor. The Himalayan pastures have a large variety of grasses and herbs. A lot of medicinal plants are also available in Himalaya. I think you have seen that Ramayana, where Lord Rama sends Hanuman to get that Sanjeevani booty from the Himalayas. So there are a large number of medicinal plants, and a lot of Ayurveda. In India is very famous for the Ayurvedic system of medicine, which is prevalent for thousands of years now, and it is able to take care of mankind in a better way. So these are available in the Himalayan pasture belt. Now comes the Terai region. This consists of small patches of tall grassland interspread with sal forest ecosystem. The patches of tall elephant grass are located in the low-lying waterlogged areas. The sal forest patches cover the elated regions and the Himalayan foothills. The Terai also includes marshes in the low-lying depressions. This ecosystem extends as a belt south of the Himalayan foothills. So this Terai region comes in the foothills, means the hill is top, then when it's coming down and meeting the earth, there we call a foothill. There you will find the Himalayan, in the Himalayan region you will find the Terai region, and there you have got a lot of sal trees, tall trees, so this is all about the Terai, where you have the sal trees as well as the long grass, which is known as elephant grass. Then the third one is the semi-arid plains. The semi-arid plains, they are located in western India, central India and the Deccan, and are covered by grassland tracts with patches of thorn forest and covered with seasonal grasses and herbs on which its flora is dependent. So there is something called flora and fauna. Okay. So these semi-arid plains, they are located in the western India, central India and the Deccan, and are covered by grassland tracts with patches of thorn forest and covered with seasonal grasses and herbs on which the fauna is dependent. And lastly, we will see the Shola grasslands. So it consists of patches of hill slopes along the Shola forest on the western Ghats, Nilgiri and the Annamalai ranges. Annamalai is in the South India. Western Ghats is what is Karwar, Goa and all this comes under the Western Ghats. And even Nilgiri is in the southern part of India. This forms a patchwork of grassland on the slopes and forests of forest habitats along with the streams and low-lying areas. Now we shall just look at the grassland. So how we are going to save the grassland ecosystem? So what is the problem? Two problems what we can see. One is these villagers. Now they will take their animals, like especially domestic animals, what you call, like cattle, cows, goats, bullocks. These all they will take there and they will graze them. So what happens? There is no scientific grazing here. So they will take them during monsoon. Lot of grass will grow. So these people will take them, and the animals will be freely eating this grass, and there is no control on the eating. So what happens? This way you will find that the ecosystem is damaged. Okay. And second thing is, like in forest fire, here also, because these plants and shrubs and grass, they can easily catch fire. So fire is also one of the problem for grassland ecosystem. So the solution is, again you have got a three-pronged solution, like we discussed in the forest conservation of forest. I think the same thing can apply here also. So one thing is, like we said, afforestation means grow more trees. So here he can grow more grass, and we should not allow overgrazing. So this grazing should be controlled, so that the grassland ecosystem is not damaged, and you can have rotational grazing pattern. So you can have stretches of grazing. You can divide them in various stretches and see that the grazing is not done over and it is rotationally. So one part is grazed now, next year next one. So by the time this earlier one will grow. So we have to ensure that if one part is grazed, then another 3-4 parts are well developed, so that when it switches to the next year to the next part, then this part will be again full of grass and shrubs. And these fires should be taken care so that they don't burn off the entire grass, especially in the summer season due to high temperatures. No? And third is the sanctuaries or national parks must be created so that we can preserve this grassland ecosystem. Again, I would like to repeat, this grassland, they are the primary producers. They are producing the oxygen what you and me are breathing. So we should be really grateful to this grassland and forest because they are the primary producers and they are the only producers which are producing oxygen and on which all this biotic life, whether it is plant, animals, or human beings, or even all these herbivorous, carnivorous animals, they are all surviving only on this oxygen. So we need to take care of this forest as well as grasslands. Thank you. So now we shall look into the desert ecosystem. So whenever we speak of a desert, then you will remember immediately, your mind will go to Rajasthan. Okay, all these places like Jaipur, Jaisalmer, all these places in the deserts are located mostly in the Rajasthan in India, and you have got of course the world famous Sahara deserts also. I am fortunate that I had visited these places what I spoke just now. So these deserts and semi-arid areas are located in western India and the Deccan Plateau. The climate of these vast tracts is extremely dry. Dry in the sense because there is no rainfall. One thing, there are no trees there, so there is no transpiration. Okay, there are no water bodies where the evaporation will take place. So the moisture in the air is very low. Like now we are staying in this coastal belt like Goa and Karwar. Here the moisture humidity levels are very high. So this area, our area is hot and wet region where there is high humidity, 50, 60, 70% relative humidity is there. But here in this desert it is hot and dry. So this also has sand dunes. I think you have seen all the advertisements and all the movie songs are shot now. The sand dunes, like small mountains of this sand. These are also areas covered with sparse grasses and few shrubs, which grow if it rains. The rainfall is scanty and sporadic. So here, first of all, like in our region, like what coastal region we are staying, here the rainfall is for almost 4 to 5 months in a year. But whereas in the desert ecosystem, it hardly rains. Okay, there is no regular rainfall like what is happening here. So the rainfall is very less, and because the rainfall is very less and happens only at times, not regularly, therefore it is this only very few area of this desert ecosystem is covered with grass or some few shrubs. You don't find trees, you only find small grasses or shrubs. In an area, it may rain only once every few years. So rainfall, as I was telling, is very less, scanty and sporadic. Sporadic means sometimes, like now it is we are discussing, it happens only sometimes in a year or sometimes in few years. Deserts and semi-arid regions have a large number of highly specialized insects and reptiles. So I think in deserts you find lot of reptiles like lizards, no? And moreover, this camel, which is adapted to this desert ecosystem. See what has happened now, because of this scanty rainfall, not availability of less availability of water. The camels have adjusted themselves, and they have tall legs. So you'll find lot of camels in the desert ecosystem, as they have adapted themselves so they can go without water for a lot of time, not like other animals. Okay, so this was about the desert ecosystem which is available in western India as well as the Deccan Plateau. The last topic of discussion in module 3 of energy and environment subject, the discussion is on aquatic ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem constitutes the marine environments of the seas and the freshwater systems in lakes, rivers, ponds and wetlands. These ecosystems provide human beings with a wealth of natural resources. The aquatic ecosystems are classified into freshwater, brackish and marine ecosystems, which are based on the salinity levels. So, aquatic ecosystem means this whatever we have got systems like waters, systems like in lakes, rivers, ponds, wetlands. So, these all constitute the aquatic ecosystem, and they provide lot of wealth. I think whatever we enjoy, this fish, marine, what you call seafood and all, that is only coming through the aquatic ecosystem. So this system can be classified into three types. One is fresh water. Fresh water means river water, whatever you get, where there is no salt in that. Okay, so that is known as fresh water, which does not have salt content. Then second is the oceans or marine ecosystem. In ocean, around 3 to 4% of salt is there. So it is totally salt water and it is not fit for human consumption. Okay, that is a marine ecosystem. And then third one is wherever these rivers come and meet the ocean, wherever the rivers like your Kali river is coming and meeting this Arabian Sea at Sadashivgarh. So there you will have the brackish water. Brackish water means it is neither fresh nor highly saline. In between it is. Okay. This is the brackish water is available only in the delta region where the rivers meet the oceans. I think now you understood there is freshwater systems, brackish systems and then marine ecosystem, and they all differ based on the amount of salt in the system. So the freshwater ecosystem, they have running water like streams and rivers like Kali river. Now ponds, tanks, lakes are ecosystems where water does not flow and have expanse of shallow water with aquatic vegetation which forms an ideal habitat for fish, crustacean and water birds. So in aquatic these freshwater systems you have got two types. One is the flowing one like rivers and streams, and second is the stationary one where like ponds, lakes and tanks where the water does not flow and the water is very shallow, means the deep is not very much deep. But what happens here, lot of vegetation you can see in Madale also you have got a pond here, you can see lot of vegetation, means grass and all grown, aquatic vegetation also. And then you will also find some fish and birds, water birds. So there are birds, lot of birds in this pond which feed on the on these ponds, the microorganisms, small insects, frogs and all which are available in these ponds. So this was the freshwater ecosystem. And then comes the brackish water. Brackish water, as I was telling, is the river deltas are covered by mangrove forest. So again this you might have seen wherever there in Karwar and Goa near the beaches, wherever this streams of water or river stream is meeting the ocean, there you will have a delta. Okay, there you will have some delta and there you will have mangroves which where you can find that the brown roots are available, are visible on the earth also. So they are the world's most productive ecosystem in terms of biomass production. So please understand that brackish water ecosystems in river deltas are covered by mangrove forest and are among the world's most productive ecosystems in terms of biomass production. The largest mangrove swamps are in the Sundarbans in the delta of the Ganges. So Ganga river, when it ultimately goes and meets the Bay of Bengal, there it has got Sundarbans, and in the delta of Sundarbans you will have a lot of mangroves. And here also in Karwar, Goa also, you might have seen, you might have not noticed, but please see, you can see those mangroves. Okay, so this completes the aquatic ecosystem, which includes both all the three, that is freshwater, brackish water, as well as marine water ecosystems. Thank you, and please understand whatever seafood we enjoy, this is all coming through this ecosystem only. All this fish, lobsters, prawns, whatever shellfish, whatever we are eating, it's all produced by the aquatic ecosystem. Thank you.